everyone, welcome back. So for today's video, I'm excited to bring you a concealer comparison. So I have 8 mid-range to high-end concealers that we're going to do a compare and contrast. And I'm going to leave one eye blank with no concealer and one eye with concealer. That way you all will be able to see the difference. Now, if that sounds like something you're interested in, then please go ahead and keep watching. I'm gonna bring you all in closer. Okay, so this is as close as we are going to get. So the way I'm gonna do this is my left eye tends to be the worst one as far as dark circles are concerned. So this is gonna be the one that I test the concealer on, and this is gonna be the one that I am going to leave blank for the comparison. So my right eye is gonna be the control. My left eye is going to be the variable. So let me show you what concealers we're going to be going through today. I've got the LYS Beauty concealer. I've got the new Urban Decay Quickie concealer. I also have the Urban Decay Stay Naked concealer. Dose of Colors, Meet Your Hue. The Pat McGrath concealer. The UOMA Beauty concealer. I've got the NARS Soft Matte concealer. And the NARS Creamy Radiant. So, now, just as a disclaimer, not all of these are going to be the exact right, perfect under eye shade because of various factors, including some of these I use for correcting, some of them I use for brightening, some of them I use on my skin versus on my under eye, some of them I use to cover blemishes, some of them are going to be more full coverage, some are going to be less full coverage, some of them I use as adjusters. But they are all... We are tilted, aren't we? Yes, we are. Anyway, so that's how I'm going to do it. Now, let's get started. I want to first start out with the LYS Beauty concealer. I am going to use this hand palette that I have from IsoClean. I've already sanitized it with alcohol. I'm going to put a little dot of the concealer on the palette, and then I'm going to apply it to my under eye with my finger, because that is the way I prefer to apply my concealers so that I can get maximum coverage and I can have extreme control over the area in which I apply. I also find that using my finger helps warm up the product and helps it blend into the skin more seamlessly. So, oh, I forgot to tell you which shade. So this is shade MG2. And this is what it looks like. So we're going to take this. So it's very, very soft. Very liquidy. And the darkest part of my eye tends to be the part closest to my nose on the inner portion, so that's where I like to concentrate most of the product as I am blending it out. Now it's going to look a little bit funny because I'm not wearing foundation, I'm not wearing eyeshadow, I'm not wearing mascara, I've got no other makeup on. I didn't want anything potentially interfering with the display of the concealer. Okay, so here we go. The LYS Beauty concealer comparatively to the right eye. Be right back with concealer number 2. Alrighty, I'm back, And the next concealer we are going to do is the Pat McGrath concealer. And this is in the shade Light Medium 8, LM8. See, clean under eye, clean palette. This is what it looks like. Clean ring finger. And here we go. This is the Pat McGrath concealer. It was very creamy. It felt a little bit thicker than the LYS concealer. Feels a little bit more full coverage as well. So hopefully that's coming through to your end. I'll let you all decide which one is the best concealer at the end of the video. Be right back with the next one. We're going to use is the UOMA Beauty concealer, and this is in the shade Honey Honey T1. This is normally the one that I use for my skin. This one also feels a little bit thicker, closer to the consistency of the Pat McGrath one versus the LYS Beauty, which, you know, makes sense because the LYS Beauty one's more advertised as a serum concealer, so I don't expect those to be as thick. And here we go. This is the UOMA Beauty concealer. That's concealer number 3. We've got 5 more to go through. Here we go. And we're back. Time for our next concealer. Should we do... Let's do Dose of Colors next. So this is normally a full coverage concealer as well, so I expect it to be thick like the other one. And this is shade Medium Tan 16. I'm probably going to end up snapping this palette by the end of the video because I'm just it's very flexible and I'm very not coordinated sometimes. So we'll see. Anyway, here we go. Concealer. This one feels the thickest so far, and also seems to be the most full coverage. I feel like if I applied this over my entire face, everything would disappear. Wow. Have you tried the foundation from Dose of Colors, the Meet Your Hue foundation, the one that goes with this concealer? I haven't, and I've been super curious about it. Let me know if you've tried it in the comments below and what you think. So here we go. This is the Dose of Colors concealer. Now, if I didn't explain it already in the beginning, because who remembers what I did in the beginning, I have not prepped my under eye with anything. I am not setting anything with powder. I'm not setting anything with setting spray. I am strictly comparing the concealers by themselves with 0 other products for any potential interference. So their performance and their color, payoff, consistency, all that can be altered with mixing products, setting things different ways, and prepping them with different ways. Now, let's keep going. That was halfway through our concealers. Be right back. Okay, so tidbit with the Dose of Colors concealer. So far, that one has been the most difficult one to remove afterwards. So it's more self-setting than the other ones, because the other ones, when I went in my mirror to remove them, they wiped away relatively easy without any like pressing or friction. This one I had to really like go for it. And I am using the Simple Kind to Skin micellar cleansing water, and I'm using the makeup wipe to make things a little bit easier. They're biodegradable. And I normally don't use makeup wipes. That's just for this, because I cannot wash my face between every single thing. I'll get too irritated. I have sensitive eyes and sensitive skin. Okay, anyway, next one, we're gonna do the Urban Decay Quickie Concealer. Now this one I got in the same shade as my foundation shade, which is 50WY in the Stay Naked foundation. So I got 50WY also in the concealer, because I thought that this brush would make it really nice for like a foundation or concealer kind of a deal. So we'll see, but I'm gonna still apply it with my fingers like I have done with everything else. Fair comparison. And I'm going back and forth between my ring finger and my middle finger as far as concealer application. Okay, this one is also very thick, but also very creamy. This one so far is the most similar to the Dose of Colors one as far as consistency is concerned. Wow, that little bit is going a long way. Wow, that is, holy hell. I've covered half my face, or not half my face, but you know, this whole area right here, you know, just with that little bit. So here we have it. This is the Urban Decay Quickie Concealer. And this one I would say is more close to my skin tone shade versus my under eye shade. Let's move on to the next one. We've got 3 more concealers to go, and I can already feel the skin on my eyes burning. But we can do this. We can do this. Okay. The next one is the Urban Decay Stay Naked Concealer, and this is shade 40NY. This is what I normally use for brightening underneath my eye. press and pat. That's the application technique I'm using with all of the concealers, press and pat. Focusing the majority of the product right here because that's where I have most of my darkness. And I normally take it all the way underneath my lashes because that's where I will put my eyeshadow. Okay, so here we go. Urban Decay Stay Naked Concealer. We'll be right back. Alrighty, we are back. We've got 2 concealers left. I'm going to do the NARS Radiant Creamy. And this is in the shade Custard Medium 1. This is the travel size one. All right, also very creamy, as one would expect from the name. Not as thick as the Dose of Colors or the, oh, cat hair. Okay. Not as thick as the Dose of Colors or the Urban Decay Quickie. You can still get a fair amount of spread out of it, though. Doesn't look as full coverage as the other ones, but I'm sure you could build it up. We'll see. We're just doing one application, tap, tap, fair comparison. So here we have it, NARS Radiant Creamy. I'll be right back with the last one. And we're back. So now I'm going to have our final concealer. This is the NARS Soft Matte, also in Custard Medium 1. Slightly different than all of our other concealers because it comes in a pot versus a tube with a doe foot applicator. So I'm going to use a little spatula. Get some of that out. Put it on my palette for you. So, and same application method as all of the other concealers because we are going to keep it fair. This is obviously the thickest one since it came out of a pot. Very soft and creamy and malleable, movable when you apply it to the palette. And that is nice and full coverage for sure. Oh wow, look at this. Look at how full coverage this is. Also covers a good portion of my face. So here we go. This is the NARS Soft Matte. I will be right back with my final thoughts. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and do a little recap. So, my face is completely bare. No prep, primer whatsoever on my face or my eyes. I put all the concealer on my left eye. Right eye was the comparison eye. And I didn't set anything with powder, and I didn't set anything with setting spray. No prep or setting whatsoever. This was strictly comparing concealer alone by itself with no assistance from everything or anything. The concealers that we went through were the LYS Triple Fix Serum Concealer, the Pat McGrath Sublime Fetish, Skin Fetish Concealer, the UOMA Beauty Stay Woke Concealer, the Dose of Colors Meet Your Hue Concealer, that's 6, the Urban Decay Stay Naked Concealer, the Urban Decay Quickie Concealer, the NARS Radiant Creamy, and the NARS Soft Matte. Those were the 8 concealers we tested. So, now, the LYS Triple Fix Serum Concealer, I feel like this one had probably the least coverage of all of them, at least from what I could see both on camera and in my mirror over here. It also did not self-set at all, and when I turned to remove the product off camera, it had already started settling into my fine lines underneath my eye, which is normal, but not to the extent like that this product did. So you definitely would have needed a powder to set it with. So I would say this is more of a natural finish, no makeup versus a full coverage concealer. Now, the Pat McGrath, I feel like that one was similar in consistency to the LYS concealer because of the way it settled into the wrinkles underneath my eye. My camera is blurring right now, but there are wrinkles. You can kind of see them here, like right there, and these right here, and over here. So this one was also immediately going into the fine lines underneath my eye, and both of them were kind of like breaking up and separating, which they shouldn't have been doing because they were being placed on clear skin, just cleaned with micellar water, had been left to dry before application. So I would say this is more full coverage than the LYS, but is going to still settle into the fine lines a little bit more. So not matte, that's for sure. These are not, by the way, in order of my favorites. These are just things that I noticed as I was applying them. So the Pat McGrath one, the LYS one, might be better for people who tend to have drier under eyes and have problems with dryness because they seem to be more liquidy. So potentially more hydrating and moisturizing. Potentially. Now, I can't remember what order we did these in, but I believe the next one I did was the UOMA Beauty Stay Woke Concealer. This one was pretty good as well. It wasn't the most full coverage, but it was definitely nice and thick and creamy, and you could get a good amount of coverage around everything. It was closer to my skin tone versus my under eye concealer tone, so that also plays a role, the color of the concealer. It was definitely more movable as far as moving with your facial expressions. It didn't settle into the fine lines as much, and it was more self-setting than the other ones were. So that's things to keep in mind. The next one is the Dose of Colors Meet Your Hue Concealer. This one was thick and super full coverage. I am pretty sure if I had just put like another dot on this side of my face and another dot up here that I could have covered my entire face in the concealer and used it as my foundation. It was so full coverage. And it also seemed to be self-setting. It did not settle into any of the fine lines or creases underneath my eye. And it seemed to dry super quick. It was also the most difficult to remove. So I would expect it to be the most long wearing just because it was the most difficult to remove. So that's 4. So next we have the Urban Decay Quickie concealer. So when I bought that, I was imagining it was going to be one of those combination foundation plus concealer products with the combination of the doe foot applicator and the brush on one side. I'm definitely going to do more testing around with that because I'm really excited about the product and I really like it. And it did live up to the expectations that I personally had for it. It was very full coverage. It didn't settle into the fine lines. It seemed to be self-setting, and I didn't have any issues with it when I was looking into the camera about the product separating or falling apart or anything like that. Full coverage, good to go. And then the next one was the Stay Naked Urban Decay Stay Naked concealer. Also a personal favorite of mine, one of my general concealers that I tend to keep around. I like that it provides coverage, but that it's not super full coverage. So I feel like it's one of those in-between concealers that I can use on a full coverage matte day, or I can use it on a more natural no makeup day because it's versatile like that, you know, depending on how much you apply and how what you do with it. So I would say it's not as full coverage as the Quickie concealer, but it's more full coverage than the LYS Triple Fix Serum Concealer. Which brings me to the next two I have similar feelings about. So the NARS Radiant Creamy definitely has more of a natural finish. Didn't settled into the fine lines just a teeny bit, but not as much as the Pat McGrath or the LYS, like, at all. I would definitely set this one with powder to help with the creasing. It did provide relatively full coverage from what I could tell. Not as full coverage as the Dose of Colors or the Urban Decay Quickie, but more comparable to the Urban Decay Stay Naked concealer. But instead of a matte finish, it had more of a natural or satin finish. Now, the NARS in the pot, definitely very full coverage. So I would put this one in more of a similar category with the Dose of Colors Meet Your Hue concealer and the Urban Decay Quickie concealer, where they were so full coverage I felt like I could just erase everything on my face with them. It was also, you know, different formula, being the fact that it was in a pot versus in a tube with the sticks, so it was a little bit thicker than the other products, but it wasn't thick in the way that it was difficult to spread. It still spread very easily, very creamy. The pressing and patting motion worked very well. Didn't see it settling into fine lines, didn't see any product separation or anything like that. And it just worked really, really well from my perspective. My least favorite concealer of the bunch would probably be the LYS concealer. I am going to get rid of this one. I'm not going to keep it because it's something I could use, but I wouldn't necessarily enjoy using it because I feel like I get more of what I want with the... Where did it go? I try to keep things organized with my videos. Oh, so I felt like I get more of what I want with the Urban Decay Stay Naked because I can do natural no makeup with this, or I can do full coverage and it doesn't settle into my fine lines, and it also happens to be self-setting. This one seemed to break apart on the skin underneath my eye and settled into my fine lines and didn't provide as much coverage as I would like. So, prefer this one to this one. So this one, least favorite. I hate to do this because I love Mother Pat, but this one was probably my second to least favorite. So that would be in the number 7 spot if I had to rank. And like basically same issues as with the LYS concealer, except it was just more full coverage. The product was breaking apart underneath my eye and it was settling into the fine lines. And neither of those things are things that I want. So, number 7. Now, it's hard for me to rank where this one goes based on the formula because the way it appears underneath your eye is going to be different based on what color it is. I did like how it seemed to move with my skin when I moved, like you couldn't see the creasing. So this one I feel like I would like a little bit more if it was one shade lighter, so it would be underneath my eye. But this is the concealer that I prefer to use on my face because it moves along with the facial expressions, you know. Now, I honestly don't feel like I can rank these final concealers yet. Let's see. As far as coverage goes, these 3 had the most full coverage. The Dose of Colors Meet Your Hue Concealer, the NARS Soft Matte, and the Urban Decay Stay Naked, or not Stay Naked, sorry, the Urban Decay Quickie Concealer. Those 3 seemed to be the most full coverage out of all of the ones that I tried. I wouldn't be able to rank them without seeing how they performed longevity-wise and along with other products, because that's some of the things that are important to me when I'm trying to decide what my favorite top concealer is. You know, it's got to work with all of my different products that I use. It's got to work with all of different types of techniques of application, fingers, sponge, brush. It's got to work no matter what, you know. But as far as full coverage, if you're looking for full coverage, these 3 were definitely the most full coverage of the ones that I tried. Now, if you want more of a natural satin finish, kind of in between full coverage and barely there, then NARS Radiant Creamy and Urban Decay Stay Naked are where you're going to want to go. This one is self-setting. This one I would recommend setting with a little bit of powder. But otherwise, these are the most similar coverage-wise. And that is it. Those are my final thoughts based on the swatches that we did on camera here today. And me looking in this mirror before I remove everything. I will do another updated concealer video when I figure out which is like the number 1 concealer that isn't going to move, budge, it's going to last 16 hours, it's going to do your laundry, it's going to wash your dishes, it's going to bathe the dog. I don't have a dog. It's going to bathe the cats. You know, it's going to do all the things for you. When I find that concealer, you all will be the first ones to know. It could already be in my collection. Stay tuned to find out. I hope you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful week. Drink some water, eat some fruit, wear your sunscreen, take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones, and just, you know, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay.